Hello and welcome to the 8th video in Spiral 4, so lesson 8. So today we're looking at multi-step equations, which include the distributive law. So we just talked about the distributive law yesterday, or in the last lesson. So for example, if we have brackets, we need to get rid of brackets before we can do anything. So that means we got to multiply that 6 in. So we end up with 12x minus 6. So when we get into the equations, we've dealt with multi-step equations in Spiral 2, so now we're dealing with them in Spiral 4, and now we're including the distributive law. So step 1, get rid of all brackets. So in this case, the first one, we have first set of brackets. We're going to get rid of it by multiplying in, so we end up with 36x plus 36, and nothing else changes. All right, so we just write everything out as is. Next, I recommend collecting like terms on either side of the equal sign. So those are like terms. And when I look at the other side, 1 plus 6x, there's no like terms. So there's nothing to do on that side. So we have 36x. 36 take away 5 is 31. 1 plus 6x. All right, now we're down to a multi-step equation, which you did in Spiral 2. So now we want to move all the variables to the one side, all the numbers to the other. So I'm going to show what I like to see on tests. So I'm going to subtract 6x, and whatever I do to one side, the golden rule says do it to the other. And I'm going to do it right underneath, like a stacked addition. So 36 take away 6 means it's 30x. I still have the 31, I haven't moved it. On the other side, I took away the 6x, so that disappears. So all that's left is a 1. All right. Next, I'm going to get all the numbers to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 31 on both sides, and I'll put it right underneath to be like a stacked addition. So I have 30x equals 1, take away 31 is negative 30. My last step, I got to do the 30 and the x are multiplying. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So in this case, x equals negative 1. All right, so there's that first one solved. Next one, B part. Let's go through and let's get rid of all our brackets. That's our first step, and this time there's 2 sets of brackets to get rid of. So on the one side, negative 11 doesn't change. Multiplying the 10 in, I get plus 10x plus 100 equals 4 does not change, and I'm going to multiply negative 5 in. So negative 10x minus 55. Okay? What I recommend then, let's collect like terms on the same side of the equal sign. So negative 11 plus 100 is 89 plus 10x. On the other side, I have a 4 and a negative 55, so that'll give me negative 51 minus 10x. Now we're down to a multi-step equation, so we're just practicing what we finished with in Spiral 2. So I'm going to move all my x's to the left side, just because. You don't have to, you can go the other direction. So the opposite would be to add 10x. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So 89 plus, now it's 20x equals, those guys cancel out, and I'm left with a negative 51. Now I want to get all the numbers to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 89. Whatever I do to one side, I got to do to the other. Those will cancel out. So I'm left with 20x equals 51 and 89. So when you add those together, you get 140, and it'll be a negative 140. Finally, the 20 is multiplying the x, so we're going to divide by 20. That leaves us with x equals negative 70. All right. So we are at our upper end for what to expect in grade 9. All right. We need to be able to solve equations, and we need to be able to work with distributive law inside those equations. So a couple more examples to work through. So again, all we do is get rid of brackets first. So we've got two sets of brackets we need to remove first before we can do anything else. So we will have negative 32n plus 32, and then plus 8. Nothing happened to it. On the other side, we're multiplying in by a negative 4. So negative 16 minus 32n plus 8n. Again, I always recommend collect up like terms on the same side of the equal sign. So on that side, you have negative 32n plus 40. On the other side, we've got negative 32n, 8n. So the negative 16 stays untouched, and we get negative 24 and on that side. Now we move all the ends to the same side. So it's the same process, okay? It's very repetitive, which is a good thing because it allows us to kind of cement and figure out exactly what needs to be done every time. Negative 32 plus 24, I believe that would be a negative 8n, plus 40 equals negative 16. Now we subtract 40 from both sides. I'm left with negative 8n equals negative 56. Divide both sides by negative 8. And we get n equals 7. All right. And one last example with solving the equations. It really tests everything here. So this one's got two sets of brackets on the same side, but it incorporates distributive law and collecting like terms and solving equations. So it's got a bit of everything in it. So we end up with, on this one, negative 2b minus 12. So I multiplied everything by negative 2. Now I'm going to multiply everything by negative 4. So that's negative 16b plus 12 equals negative 4b plus 4b. So let's collect up all our like terms. So on this side, we have numbers, and I'll double underline letters. So we have negative 2b minus 16. So that gives us negative 18b. Negative 12 and plus 12, those two actually cancel each other out. On the other side, do we have any like terms? The answer is yeah. Negative 4 plus 4, well, it's 0. They cancel each other out. So this question actually turns into a nice one because it doesn't take too long to get to a final answer. Final answer here, B has to be 0 for that particular question. Okay? If you have any questions with any of the steps, stop the video, ask your teacher as to why I did something so that you know the reason, all right? You want to make sure you understand the process because guessing is obviously not going to be possible for these particular questions. Here's an EQAO question. Pauline builds a fence around her garden that is shaped like a parallelogram as shown. She uses 100, that should be meters, not mares, meters of fencing along the perimeter of the garden. Find the dimensions of her garden. All right. So, what's our perimeter formula? Parallelogram, those sides are equal, those are equal. So perimeter equals, and you can look at your formula sheet, 2L plus 2W. All right. What's the perimeter? If you read the question, it says if she uses 100 meters of fencing, we know the perimeter is going to be 100 equals 2 times the length, so that's x plus 20, plus 2 times the width, which is x minus 10. So we can see that this now looks like one of the questions from before, the 4 questions we did. We have 100 equals, and we have all the algebra on the one side. So we just need to get rid of our brackets. Process stays the same, get rid of brackets. So 100 equals 2x plus 40 plus 2x minus 20. And as I've said before, you want to gather up any like terms on the same side. So we have x's, I've got numbers. So 100 equals, I'll have 4 x's, and I'll have a number 20 left over, 40 minus 20. Now it makes sense. Let's move all the numbers to the left, because on this side, there's just numbers. So I'm going to subtract 20, and whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. 100 take away 20 is 80, equals 4x. Divide both sides by 4. So we have x equals 20. Now, a lot of people go, this is the final answer, I'm all done. It's an EQAO question. The question wants us to find the dimensions of her garden. So, over here we take our answer. So therefore, actually I won't put therefore. Okay, so dimensions, DIM. X minus 20 is the one dimension. X minus 10, okay? We'll work on copying skills here. X minus 10. Well, we just found out that x is 20. So 20 minus 10 equals 10 meters. So we know this side is equal to 10. On the other side, we had x plus 20. Well, we just said x is 20, so 20 plus 20 is 40. So this is equal to 40. So her garden is 10 by 40. All right. Make sure you always, when you go back or you have a question like this on EQAO, you go back and ask yourself, did I answer this question? All right, that's it for the algebra. Definitely the upper end. There's going to be some challenges here. Make sure you do enough to feel comfortable. Show your steps, because that's where the marks come from. All the marks come from showing your steps. If you're just going to show us final answer, you are not going to get a very good mark because we don't care about final answer. We care about your process. All right? Good luck with the questions. And like I said, if you have any questions, make sure you ask that teacher. And we'll see you in the last lesson of Spiral 4 in the next video.